We're going to create 2.6, 2.8 million new jobs in 2018. I don't want to make a forecast. I'm just saying that's their number. But if you ask me, is that plausible, I would say yes. Again, we would be happy with 3 or 3 plus.
Okay. 5% plausible, he says. All right, that was Larry Kudlow. You saw him right there. Look at the big board. Now we're up 51 points for the Dow Jones average, 25,377. Who's with us today? Well, Paul Conway's here, former Labour Department Chief of Staff, and David Asman, making his first appearance on Varney
in a while.
In a while, that's right.
It's a while back, but yes.
It's been years.
Much too long, much too long.
He's the co-host of, what's the name of the show?
After the Bell at 4 p.m. on Fox Business.
One of the few Fox Business shows which is not a spin-off of Varney. But I digress. All right, Mr. Conway, to you first. I now characterize the jobs report as underwhelming. You going to take issue with me?
No, I'm not. Actually, look, just to have a good report, you need to have 120,000 to 150,000 jobs created every month to absorb new workers. So in that way, yeah, I do agree that this is underwhelming. It's disappointing, but one report does not make the trend. So I think we have to keep a focus on it and then see whether or not these numbers are updated in the next 30 or 60 days.
As they could be, in fact. That's true. They could be revised.
That's the main point, is that it's a mistake to try to box these numbers into 1 month. They are rolling numbers, and the revision of the previous 2 months, 59,000 to the upside, an upside revision of the previous 2 months, more than overwhelms what we were 25,000 below expectations, so we had an uptick of 59,000 from the upward revisions. You got to think of this not as a 1 month thing, but as a rolling number, Stuart. A rolling number.
Well, wait a second. If they'd have come out today and said, we had 300,000 new jobs in July, don't you think we'd all be saying, wow, that's a fantastic report?
We all would, but
Forget
again, Larry Kudlow turned you around, young man, didn't he? He turned you around.
He tried.
He tried.
He's a good one. Okay. Now, this one's for you, David.
Okay.
Larry also talked about trade.
Yes.
Okay, let's roll some tape on that. Go.
We're moving close on Mexico, so this unifies NAFTA and U.S.-Europe. Australia, Japan, China is increasingly isolated with a weak economy. They know what we are asking, Stu. That's my key point. China knows what we are asking.
David, he made it very clear that President Trump would not back off at all.
Right,
period.
right. Well, first of all, don't you love Larry Kudlow? How can you not love Larry Kudlow? I'm so glad he's in the trade team that the president has, because he is a free trader. He's a fair trader, though, as well. And instead of it being the United States against the world, he wanted to turn it the world against China. China's doing a lot of things that are just not right. They're not fair. They're not proper. They're illegal, according to the World Trade Organization, which they signed on to in the year 2000, and they're breaking the rules that they themselves signed on to. But instead of the United States against China, and the United States against Canada and Mexico and Europe, it is the world, our allies, against China. And that's a very important distinction. It's a great way that Larry has turned this all around.
Often when you get a trade headline, the market reacts with a sell-off of some sort for some duration.
No.
Did not happen.
Yeah.
I think the market liked
By the way,
what he had to
another point that Larry, I think, makes right, and the reason I'm glad he's with Trump, the trade deficit has widened, has grown, our trade deficit with the rest of the world, and yet we are growing as an economy. Larry and I don't think that the trade deficit alone is a good indicator of economic growth. You shouldn't go by the trade deficit alone. He's trying to turn the president around on this. I think the numbers today prove that he's right.
Fair point. Now, I want to talk about Apple for a moment. Yes, it hit that $1 trillion valuation, hit it yesterday. Listen to what Larry Kudlow had to say when I asked him if he thought that maybe big tech should be broken up. Roll tape.
How many jobs do you think Apple's created?
A lot.
How many millions? Seriously, how many millions of people have they employed?
Millions, yes.
How much productivity have they added to this economy?
Yep,
seriously, over the years.
Yep.
How much prosperity have they added to this economy? I mean, come on. The front page of the New York Times does worry a lot about income inequality. I get that. God bless them. Me, I worry about prosperity. I worry about healthy economy. I worry about getting jobs to everybody around the country.
I guess you could say I was schooled by Larry Kudlow earlier this morning. But come on in, Paul Conway. What do you think about the idea of reining in, limiting the extraordinary power of the big American technology companies?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that what you're watching is actually a transformation of the economy. So when you look at an Apple or you look at an Amazon, it's more than one company that's indicating a dynamic in the economy. It's a change. So as a conservative, no, I would not be an advocate of reining them in. I think you have to keep a close eye on them, and I think other companies in the free market can take lessons from them. But absolutely, they're creating wealth. And look at the number of retirees and other folks that depend on that stock, who watched stocks dip over the past 8 or 10 years, who are now seeing some benefit and some turnaround for their personal wealth. That's a good thing.
So don't rein them in. You agree with Larry Kudlow. Don't rein them in. What says Dave Asner?
I would add one thing to the brilliant comments that Larry Kudlow just made about income disparity. As everybody's salivating over the wonder of democratic socialism with Ocasio-Cortez, et cetera, we had 8 years of an administration that said there's nothing more important in the economy than correcting income disparity. They had all kinds of policies, socialist and liberal policies designed to correct that. The income disparity grew. It is now getting better in terms of poor people raising up their standard of living, the poor becoming middle class becoming rich. The policies of the free market do much more to cure problems of income disparity than the solutions, so-called, of the socialists or the liberals.
By the way, 3.5 million people have been lifted off food stamps since President Trump was elected. 3.1 million since he took office. I'd call that a really big positive, Paul. I know you're not going to disagree on that one.
No, look, I was the Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Resources for the state of Virginia under George Allen, and served with Jay Timmons over at the National Association of Manufacturers and Kay James, the president of Heritage Foundation. And what we saw clearly when we were doing welfare reform was this. If you put in the policies that grow the economy and create more jobs, more people will come off the rolls of dependency, including food stamps. And they're not, if you look at folks that are on food stamps, why are they on it? They're trying to take care of things. I don't think they see it as a hammock or a rest area. No one believes that that's a route to independence. No one at all. But under this economy and under these policies, you are seeing people come off at a record rate, and that's a tribute to the policy and the philosophies that are being enacted. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Just one line from JFK. He said it all. A rising tide lifts all boats. Yeah. Very simple. JFK said it.
All right. Thanks very much, Paul Conway and David.